The gunshot echoed through the marble lobby like thunder splitting the sky. And in that frozen moment between heartbeats, Marcus Chen didn't think about his own life, or his daughter waiting at home, or the fact that he was just a janitor earning minimum wage. He only saw the gun pointed at Rebecca Thornton, the CEO of Thornton Industries, and his body moved before his mind could catch up. The bullet tore through his shoulder instead of her chest, and as Marcus collapsed onto the cold floor, blood pooling beneath him, he wondered if Sarah would understand why her father wouldn't be coming home tonight. The masked gunman fled into the night, leaving behind chaos and a single father who had just traded his safety for a stranger in an expensive suit. If this story has already moved you, if you believe in the power of selfless courage and second chances, please take a moment to like this video, leave a comment below, share it with someone who needs inspiration today, and subscribe to our channel. Your support helps us share more stories that remind us of the goodness that still exists in this world. Marcus had been working the night shift at Thornton Industries for 3 years, invisible to most of the people who walked past him while he mopped floors and emptied trash bins. He was 34 years old but looked older, the weight of raising 9-year-old Sarah alone etched into the lines around his eyes. His wife had died from cancer 2 years earlier, leaving behind medical bills that had swallowed their savings and forced Marcus to work 2 jobs just to keep their small apartment and put food on the table. During the day, he slept in fragmented intervals while Sarah was at school, and at night, he cleaned office buildings while she stayed with their elderly neighbor, Mrs. Patterson. It wasn't the life he'd imagined when he dropped out of college to care for his dying mother, but it was his life, and he carried it with quiet dignity. Rebecca Thornton had been working. Late that Friday night, preparing for a board meeting that would determine whether her family's company would survive a hostile takeover attempt. She was the third-generation CEO, a woman who had inherited her grandfather's business and her father's determination, but she'd been so focused on quarterly reports and shareholder value that she'd forgotten the faces of the people who kept her building running. She'd passed Marcus countless times without really seeing him, without knowing that the man pushing the cleaning cart had once been a promising engineering student, without realizing that his daughter drew pictures of her daddy as a superhero because in her world, he was. The shooting happened because of a disgruntled former employee seeking revenge, but in the aftermath, as paramedics rushed Marcus to the hospital and Rebecca sat in the back of a police car giving her statement, something fundamental shifted in her understanding of worth and value. She couldn't stop seeing Marcus's face in that split second before he'd thrown himself in front of her. The absence of hesitation, the pure instinct to protect another human being at the cost of his own safety. She'd built an empire measuring success in profit margins, but this janitor with calloused hands and a worn uniform had just shown her what true wealth looked like. Marcus survived the surgery, but his recovery would take months, and the hospital bills began piling up faster than his insurance could cover. Sarah sat by his bedside every day after school, reading him stories and showing him her homework, trying to be brave even though she was terrified of losing the only parent she had left. Rebecca visited the hospital the day after the shooting, and when she walked into Marcus's room and saw the little girl holding her father's hand, something inside her broke open. She'd been so consumed with saving her company that she'd forgotten companies were made of people, that behind every employee number was a story, a family, a life that mattered far beyond their productivity metrics. Rebecca didn't just pay Marcus's medical bills. She created a crisis fund for all employees facing hardship, established a scholarship program for employees' children, and restructured the company's benefits to include better health care and emergency support. But more than that, she offered Marcus a position in the company's security division once he recovered, with a salary that would allow him to work 1 job instead of 2, with hours that meant he could take Sarah to school in the mornings and help her with homework at night. She told the board that Marcus had saved more than her life that night. He'd saved the soul of their company by reminding them why they existed in the first place. The hostile takeover attempt failed, not because of financial maneuvering, but because Rebecca's transformation of the company culture attracted investors who believed in businesses that valued their people. Thornton Industries began to thrive in ways that transcended balance sheets, and at the center of it all was Marcus, who returned to work not as a janitor but as director of employee welfare, using his own experience to identify and support workers who were struggling in silence. If this story has touched your heart, if you believe that one act of courage can change everything, please hit that like button and leave a comment telling us about a time when someone's kindness changed your life. Years later, at Sarah's high school graduation, Rebecca sat in the audience beside Marcus, watching the young girl who'd once sat terrified in a hospital room accept a full scholarship to engineering school, funded by the program her father had helped create. Marcus still carried the scar on his shoulder, a reminder of the night everything changed, but he also carried something else, the knowledge that sometimes the smallest among us hold the greatest power to transform the world. Before the ceremony ended, Sarah gave a speech about heroes, and she didn't talk about comic book characters or famous figures. She talked about a man who cleaned floors and saved lives, who showed that true leadership isn't about titles or corner offices, but about the courage to protect others and the wisdom to recognize worth wherever it appears. Please share this story with everyone you know who needs to remember that every single person matters, that one moment of courage can ripple across time in ways we can't imagine. Comment below with true heroes walk among us if you believe ordinary people can do extraordinary things. Subscribe to never miss another story that reminds us why kindness and courage matter. Because in the end, Marcus didn't just save Rebecca's life that night, he saved her from a life measured in all the wrong ways, and together they built something that would outlast them both, a legacy of dignity, compassion, and the revolutionary idea that a company's greatest asset has always been the humanity of its people.